Hi, I'm Gail Street, and welcome to Paths to the Present. Today's focus is the National Park Seminary in Forest Glen. It's kind of an update, really, because in 2000 we did a story on that property, which at one time was a school for girls. We even located a former alumna.
And of course the campus was very lovely and beautifully kept, and you could walk over these covered walkways, or there were roses growing on trellises, and it was very, very pretty campus to walk around.
When we produced that show, the Army owned the complex, but it was hardly used and suffering from neglect. The buildings were in such bad shape, our cameras couldn't even go inside. But today, that has all changed. Since 2004, a private developer, the Alexander Company, has been restoring this treasure. So now, 10 years later, Paths to the Present revisits the National Park Seminary. And this time, we can visit some of the interior spaces. But first, a little history. A group known as Save Our Seminary, or SOS for short, was vital to this project's success. Formed in 1989, this nonprofit set about to protect NPS, as well as to preserve and share its history. Executive Director Bonnie Rosenthal explains the National Park Seminary actually had 4 distinct lives.
The first life was as a hotel, which started in 1887, called Ye Forest Inn, or the Forest Inn. It lasted 7 years. The next life was as National Park Seminary, which is its current name today, which was a private school for young women. That lasted until 1942. It was still active as a school, but was taken over by Walter Reed Army Hospital, and this is their rehabilitation center. The fourth and current life started in 2004 when the property left the hands of the Army and was transferred to a private developer who then turned all of the historic buildings into residential use.
SOS continues to be involved. Among other things, they offer monthly tours to the public. In May 2014, Frank Riley led a group around the grounds, sharing stories and pointing out architectural details.
This is a copy of the original architectural drawing of the hotel from 1887 that shows the original extent of it. That was the beginning of the hotel. It used to have a wooden porch, but now it's stone, all the way to this corner. There was another tower here that was struck by light, actually knocked over by the wind and not replaced. If the light is just right, you can read Ye Forest Inn. The Army did preserve that. That's the original sign from the hotel of 1887 that's now encased in plastic that was there when from the very beginning.
The Forest Glen Improvement Company built the Ye Forest Inn on 200 acres. The plan was to attract guests to the hotel, who would then like the area so much they'd purchase a lot to build a house. The venture was not successful, even after a casino was added. In 1894, the building became a finishing school for girls, with John and Vesta Cassidy at the helm. Over the years, the Cassidys enlarged and enhanced the school, with careful attention to architecture, landscaping, and art.
I'm not sure exactly when the Porch of the Maidens became the Porch of the Maidens, but these are cast stone. These are made of concrete, essentially painted, and you can see that they were placed on their pedestals. That's old stone. They are caryatids. They really are holding up the weight of the porch. The sculpture committee of SOS is in the process now. We're raising money to get those restored. So it's called Adopt a Maiden, and once we get them all adopted, we'll have a company come in and fix them for us.
Probably the most unique structures added by the Cassidys were the 8 sorority houses where the girls socialized but didn't live. The American Bungalow, the Dutch Windmill, the Colonial House, the English Castle, the Japanese Bungalow, the Swiss Chalet, the Spanish Mission, and the Japanese Pagoda.
It's a fairly authentic pagoda with odd number of levels. The Army enclosed that upper portion to make it into a bedroom. It used to be an open porch when the girls were there. As far as we know, the 4 lanterns came from Japan. We think those are authentic. We don't think they're ancient, but they're authentic. It became, of course, the Chinese pagoda on December 8th, 1941, the day after Pearl Harbor. Nobody wanted to live in the Japanese pagoda. It was Army quarters. It had one of those glider porches, and they built a white picket fence around it and made it look very much like something from Illinois, not from Japan, during World War II.
In 1916, the school changed hands. The new owner, Dr. James Ament, continued to expand the property, first adding a lavish president's house for himself.
So this is Dr. Ament's modest home. That's the original fireplace. There's a picture of what this looked like in Dr. Ament's time. And if you look up in Dr. Ament's day, you wouldn't see a ceiling, you'd see this. That little balustrade doesn't go anywhere. It's just so that you can look down from up above onto the folks who are down here. So it's just a circle cut in the ceiling. When they redesigned it, of course, they did that particular element got lost because it's somebody's floor now. This is, of course, you can't go upstairs, but that's where the stairs were. And you'll see something we're quite proud of. One of the members of SOS, her father does this work, so he restored the stained glass windows. Part of that is original stained glass that was here then, and part of it has been reconstructed to look as it did. So the President's House was the first main building that Dr. Ament built. The Cassidys built most of the unusual buildings that we've been looking at, and he had one other neat architectural idea, and we're going to look at that now. Come on in. Come on in. Don't be shy. We got the whole room to ourselves. Welcome to Ament Hall, which was the official name of this particular building when he built it. Dr. Ament actually designed it. It was completed in 1927. Prior to that time, the dances were held in the gym. After 1927, the dances were here. In the early years, it was just girls dancing with girls. In later years, including when Dr. Ament was here, they started inviting boys. They would come down from the midshipmen from Naval Academy, even from West Point, cadets from West Point, and also guys from Georgetown and some of the other local schools. Everything was chaperoned very heavily. Huge dance for Valentine's Day. Huge dance for George Washington's birthday called the Colonial Ball. It's my personal favorite because half of the girls dressed up as Martha, the other half of the girls dressed up as George, and we have wonderful pictures of the George and Martha dancing, 50 couples of George and Martha dancing on George Washington's birthday. And lots of other events like that held here. You're actually walking on the original floor. It's covered in plastic now, of course, but this is the original flooring. These were suites. And this is where Dr. Ament changed the tradition of the school in one important respect. Prior to that time, there was always slightly less expensive and slightly more expensive rooms. But these rooms really were pricey. And they had a bathroom and a little sort of side room where if you wanted to bring your maid from home, you could bring your maid and she could stay in your room. And they opened into the balcony. And so we have pictures, of course, of the girls hanging out in the balcony. There were 42 of these statues from a company called P.P. Caproni and Bro. That's Pietro Pablo Caproni, who was an expert at making casts from originals and then making plaster copies. So these are all his casts, including these are quick examples. That's Columbus. You've seen him before. That's from Laredo Zadok Taft from Illinois. He's in front of Union Station. That's a model. That's a smaller copy of the Statue of Columbia in front of Union Station here in D.C. And then that's George Washington. He's like 60 feet tall at the University of Washington in Seattle. That's the original fireplace. As you turn and look, and then you say to me, Frank, what is that weird thing up there that looks like a big speaker for a sound system? It's a big speaker for a sound system. Cost Dr. Ament $10,000. Victrola company made them. They're essentially designed for things like the Titanic. They put them on ocean liners. There's only 2 or 3 that we know of that were installed anywhere on land, and that's the only one at an educational institution. There was a plug here where the girls could plug in a little record player. And so at lunch, you had to go to chapel for a few minutes at lunch, and then you could eat lunch, and then you could come here and dance. And so the girls would do that, and we have a picture of some of the girls with the record player playing through that speaker.